You've been involved with issues of children and families for some time here in New York. What is your feeling about what are the key factors that you've come to focus on as to the relatively low retention rates of Latino students in high school, lower graduation rates than others, lower performance once they get into college, and fewer of them who do get into college staying in college? What kinds of theories have you developed over time about what can be done, what's the cause, and so on?
Well, after, I mean, I do a lot of reading on this subject. I visit the schools that we're in, and after looking at all the factors and all the statistics and all this research that has been done about Latino students, and I go back to basics. A lot of it has to be that our kids attract from the moment they enter schools. And so it's not
By
some
tracked, you mean?
Tracked, that they're tracked into, they're not going to be going into the best colleges, they're not going to be graduating high school, they're not going to be taking the Regents exam. Something that when you talk to people in my generation, a lot of them have stories of how they were tracked. You don't hear people talking about that today. They talk about racism, they talk about prejudice, but actually talking about how kids are tracked from the beginning. I think that a lot is still going on in terms of what people within the educational system believe the possibilities are for our kids.
What about issues like the staffing in schools? For example, one of the things that I saw in one study that was done was that the ratio of guidance counselors to students in typically in, for example, New York schools is 450 students to one counselor. How does that play into this equation that we're talking about?
Well, that's why they love our programs, because we have some programs in the schools where we have counselors, and so our counselors have a ratio of one counselor to maybe 75 to 100 students. It's still a lot, but it's not 1 to 450.
Yes.
And I mean, how can you say you're providing services to 450 kids in a school where many of those kids need more help than what that counselor is going to be able to give, even if she had a humane caseload? So our kids have multiple needs in many of our high schools. And I mean, let's go back to, I said that kids are tracked. Let me explain a little bit more.
Sure.
I think they're tracked from day one when our schools get less resources in our neighborhoods where our kids go to school. If you start out with a school with less resources and one counselor to 450 kids, you're not going to get the attention that you're going to get in a school that has a lot more resources, more prepared teachers, parents that are very much involved in that school, and we can talk about that later, because that doesn't mean that our parents don't care or don't want to be involved. And so there are multiple factors that make it that give less opportunities to our kids in the schools that they go to, and the preparation that those schools give them.
Now, you said the program that you have in the schools. Just tell us a little bit more about that. I mean, how many schools, where, and
well, we're in a couple of high schools. We're at Walton, we're at Columbus High School, and we're at Grace Dodge High School in the Bronx.
Yeah. All of these are in the Bronx?
All of these are in the Bronx. And I chose the Bronx because that's where you have the highest number of Latino students. And when you get government grants, you have to take whoever they assign you to work with. And so I didn't want to be discriminating against anybody, but our programs are really geared toward helping Latino students.
Okay.
And so in those three schools, we have dropout prevention program, which means we help the kids that are that have been absent 75 days or more. We connect with their parents, because I believe that if you want to change a kid's life, kids don't grow up by themselves. They live in families, and you should work with the whole family. So we make sure we engage the parents. So we have dropout prevention programs. We have a teen pregnancy prevention program in a junior high school and one of those high schools. And we have a fatherhood initiative program where we help young men who are fathers-to-be or fathers or father figures in their homes to stay in school and learn how to be a responsible parent, a responsible father, learn about building a healthy relationship with the mothers of their children, and learning how to go for an interview, all kinds of workshops, so that when they go for a job, they can be successful.